Good morning again, LinkedIn. So happy to have a special guest on an AI version of Let's Build. Nico from NewBreed. How you doing, man?
Doing well, sir. Good to see you. Thank you for
Awesome.
having me.
Good to see you. I think you did a good job last year of like diving in and, helping people understand Chat GPT and AI and what was going on. And, you made a lot of content around, uh, just building out Hub Helper Harry. I've heard, people like Max Cohen sing its praises but for some reason I've just been holding back, and I don't think this is too uncommon, especially when it comes to AI. It's like,
Yeah.
man, I agree with all the things that I'm hearing, so I look forward to learning more about that from you today, and maybe you can show us how it works a little bit. But I did want to share a story from earlier this week, and
Okay.
this is why I know it's important. No matter how much apprehension people have or I have, we've got to find a way to understand what's happening and, you know, really leverage it, like accept that it's happening, figure out how to work it into your processes. This week in Sprocketeer, somebody reaches out. I didn't really have a direct message history from them. And they'd say, I was wondering if you'd be able to help me create workflows that stamp the date onto a property when a property leaves a certain value. So workflows for me, since I'm usually focused on data structure and like the plan, don't automate until you figure that shit out, please. Like
Yeah.
that's my goal. So workflows and reporting, I don't focus on as much. Getting the data right is where I like to focus. So I say, hey, I think you'll get some better answers from, the operations hub channel, right? So have you posted in there yet? And then speaking to this confusion problem that I tried in reporting, I also don't have operations hub, right? Does it matter for this situation that he's talking about that he doesn't have this hub? Maybe not. We don't know. There's no onboarding for operations hub. It's a different story. So I said, yeah, you put it in there. And then 16 minutes pass and he comes back and says, I actually just used the GPT hub helper Harry and it seemed to have a solution. LOL. Might try that out. And if it doesn't work, I'll circle back. And it's just like, I'm going to screenshot this proud papa moment here
Hmm.
because that's real. That's already happening.
Yep.
And that's awesome, man. You've built something really special there.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could say that like that one's surprising, but it's actually not surprising. It's one of the main reasons why I built Hub Helper Harry is because I wanted to start doing custom stuff with workflows. I love doing automation. I love doing workflows, and especially with Ops Hub Pro and being able to leverage custom code. Okay, let's do some fancy stuff. But I don't really know how to write Node. I don't know how to write Python. I don't know where to start, but I do know how to ask for what I want. So I figured, all right, well, if I just load this thing up with every piece of API information that's on HubSpot, which is literally what it's got, everything that's in the knowledge base, everything that's in the API, everything that's in the CMS, everything that's in well, no, I'm starting on community, but I'm only starting with like answered posts basically, so that I can get those like really offshoot questions basically that have been answered, but it's not part of the knowledge base, right?
Right.
Basically, all of Karsten's
Yeah.
answers. So yeah, and in that way, I mean, I've put together workflows already that, yeah, okay, maybe it might not be on the first go. That's for sure, but and of course context matters, right? So if you're asking it to build a custom coded action, you're going to have to tell it, hey, we're using the authentication method, because again, it has all the API knowledge. So it may think that you're using version 3 instead of 4. It may think that you're calling from a private app as opposed to using a native app. So you have to like explain, give it context. I like to say garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't give it the story of what you're trying to do, it's going to have a harder time giving you the answers. But what's cool is that once you try the code, I've loved doing this in the last like 2 weeks, having conversations. So I'll give it the code. Okay, test it. Code has an error. Take the error back to GPT. Here's the error. Okay, here's the fix. Back over to HubSpot. Hey, here's the fix. Yeah, it's still throwing this error. Back to GPT. Hey, it's still doing this thing. Fix. Back over. Oh, now it works. Right. So it's like, yeah, it might not work the first time, but a little bit of back and forth. In other words, 20 minutes, you probably get it.
Yeah. No, it's like that's where it's like real life, like working with a real person and
Yeah.
having that exchange. Like, unfortunately, whether this is where it's like whether you're delegating to somebody else or you're using this tool, you got to know what you want first,
Yep.
right? You got to have a goal. Because if you don't give it the goal, the unfortunate thing, well, no, it happens in real life too. Like, you say it one way, it's not super clear on what you want. So whether the result is from a human or AI, you're probably not happy about it,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
luckily, I think the iteration, the ability to do it real time, it just you just gotta kind of click on that conversational aspect. Like, it's not push button get cookie, right?
Right.
It's like we might need
There is
to,
a little work involved.
right. We got to know what, like, the kind of thing we want to make. We got to understand probably which pieces are involved sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then just being able, because the best parts are when it shows up with stuff that you hadn't thought of yet,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yep.
that is just the most gratifying moment sometimes, right?
Yeah. I try to tell people like ideation is one of the things that it's best at, right? Because what's cool about these models and the where the power comes from, the easiest way to think about this is you could have any one person with all the knowledge, let's just assume all the knowledge in the world, but it would take them, because they're human, a long time to find all the patterns that things can fit into, right? But given that it's a machine and it has processing and it can move at lightning pace, you can give it tons of information and it will find patterns that you've never seen before. So you can ask it for recipes that work for things that maybe you didn't know about. Like, I don't know how, one of my funniest or like easiest things is like, yeah, just go ahead and take GPT, take a picture of your, what's in your fridge, and then ask it to meal plan for you or make a dinner for you or something, right? And based on what you've got, it might put together a recipe you didn't even think was possible given what you had in the fridge, right? So it's definitely great in that way. To your point, I tell people all the time, it's an assistant. That's what it's meant to be. Very soon, these things are going to be, I mean, very, very soon, because the upgrade to voice for it hasn't dropped yet, but it is dropping over time. So if you have a pro account, you should have that. I think they said by the end of this month, which would be amazing. If you, it basically, the movie Her, right? Like the
Yeah.
device that he had that could observe the world, give feedback, have a natural conversation, like that's here, like that's coming now, right? And I wanted to run
So
an experiment where I had a version of that over my shoulder watching me work so that I could have a conversation and see like how much like an assistant it works, right? I'm waiting for
so why should I not be scared shitless right now after you just describing
it.
that?
Okay. So great response. It's funny because I do this with Max Cohen all the time. Where, or I shouldn't say all the time, but every once in a while I get him together with oh gosh, I can't remember his name, and that's terrible now. I will forget. I'll remember at some point. Um, and we get together, and I just call it the blowout session, essentially, because we're just trying to blow Max's mind with like what's come out lately and what's happening, right? Believe me when I say that like I am as close to the ear to the ground as you can possibly get on the technology itself, right? So even when I'm talking about this stuff that's rolling out this month, it's nothing by comparison to like what's out there but not announced yet. So why should you not be scared of this? You should not be scared because you're going to find yourself capable of doing things that you weren't before. So you're able to unlock interests in a different direction than you would have before. Like, I'm building programs now I'm building programs to do stuff in HubSpot. I never would have done that before. I don't have the time to go learn Python. I don't have the time to go learn React. I'd have to learn who knows how many languages, set up how to set up servers. I built a video game, put it on a server, and launched it with a public URL inside of 20 minutes.
Mhm.
Now, it's a crap game, right? Like it was just a dummy thing, but the point was to see how long it would take to do all that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. I didn't know how to build a package. I didn't know. I even told it, okay, where do I upload this to make it a public link? Oh, well, here you go. And you just drop the entire package in there and it makes it into this thing. And then you make a GitHub account, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wow, that's amazing. Like if I really had the time and wanted to, yeah, I could sit back and start doing like 8-bit game development, right? So it's like
Right.
these things that maybe you had thought of as a hobby, right? This is how much it's an enablement, right? Is that it can help you to do even greater things that you didn't think were possible before. If you're able to use this thing to now help you do custom coded actions, okay, what's the stuff you wish you could have done with workflows that you weren't able to do, right? That door becomes unlocked now. And it
And
is strange because to me, it's very much like I find a lot of people in this in the Joker section, where if you remember Joker from the Dark Knight, there's that scene where he says, "I don't really have any plans. I'm just a dog chasing a car. I wouldn't know what to do with it if I caught up with it." And I find people in in that state right now where here's this thing that can do all of these great things for you, and it can leverage all of these abilities, but people are finding a hard time like trying to find a like use case. Okay, well, what do I use it for? And the first thing I tell them is ask it, talk to it,
yes.
ask it what it can do, ask it what you'd like to do with it. Like it will tell you. It's crazy in that way, but I see it as an enablement, and I don't really see it as being scary yet. To me, it is still very much a marvel of technology. So I
Right.
look forward to the iterations.
Yeah. And I think that's where, because I connect it to kind of HubSpot implementations and onboardings and like introducing that to an organization, which I didn't realize this until it was too late in most cases. Now I understand it very well, but basically anything new that you introduce to an organization, somebody's going to worry about being replaced in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, if you don't learn how this works and you've got a bunch of people who do, and then make their performance better, their productivity better, their efficiency better, you will be in those cases. But what I like to say is, even from HubSpot all the way through AI, when we're doing it right, we're enabling and empowering by removing all of the things that you shouldn't be spending time on.
Yep.
Because even the lowest person in an organization has relationships, has human contact,
Hmm.
that if they spent more time on that, you get to all the things that are always on your list that you never get to. Because whatever position you hold, you have a unique point of view in your
Yep.
company and when you're dealing with customers. And now you can leverage that into better experiences and more content. Because it was just a lot of what I've done and say, like, okay, the time roadblock, like even people who know their stuff, they know they need to be making videos, they know they need to be like making it better. They just can't even think
Right.
about the strategy, or they won't even entertain it because they're so busy on the phone and on emails. And at the same time, they're getting things done from a perspective, they're helping customers as they do that. So it feels like it's just a bigger part of the job now. They're just doing more of it, right?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to say, like, hey, like, do I need to be sending shipping information to a customer? Why can't they just log in and see it? And even, tools like Hub Helper Harry, you could probably go there right now and say, I want to create a portal, right? Just starting the conversation, like, I want to create a portal in HubSpot so that somebody can see a shipping address or shipping like tracking information.
Hmm.
Where do I start?
You should.
And
I mean, like, actually, let's see. I am. Let me show you some.
yeah, let's get in there.
cool stuff because I
And I'm
was,
thinking that I've never even thought to do that. But that's luckily for me, like, and this is where we understand, like, there's a different comfort level.
mm,
Like, you have to be vulnerable a little bit to go ask a machine, something about maybe your deepest, most passionate goals that you haven't
yep,
shared with anybody else yet. Right. But I love what you said about that, like that creativity unlock capable
mm,
here. Like, if we can get past, like, not every result is going to be perfect. But even when, the show I was just on, Industrial Souls, in the span of 24 hours, like with no music production experience at all, like created a new theme,
yeah.
like a new music, intro that was cool. Like, and that's where,
Man,
like,
I put together what was it? An Optimus Prime. I've been doing this for my friends lately. I put together an Optimus Prime voicemail intro for a buddy of mine. And probably, I wish I would have recorded it because it took me maybe a half hour, but I did it all on my phone, didn't use any external apps, didn't use any external hardware, just recorded my voice on my phone recorder, which is seriously high quality for some reason. Um, Uploaded that to 11 Labs. I pre-built the Optimus Prime voice from clips, so I just applied the Optimus Prime voice. Went to um, went to Spotify, screen recorded to capture the media for the soundtrack. Put that through another service online to turn that into an audio clip. Put both of those into N track, mixed it together, output, done. Right, like
yeah,
that's how crazy it is right now, and I love it. I love how creative you can be. Some of the video stuff that's out now, mind blowing. It's mind blowing, and I can't wait to see like the first movies from people. Like, so here's another thing, and I'm so glad you said that because this really helps for a lot of people. Don't be afraid of like necessarily losing your job. Don't know quite how to phrase this, but more business is going to happen. There have been more entrepreneurs and solopreneurs this year than ever, and it just keeps going. So more and more businesses are going to start up because they don't have a lot of the chains that would otherwise hold them down. And the more businesses that start, the more people they need to hire. So it's going to get there. It really is. It's going to be a case where you're going to see a lot of micro businesses, um, almost in the same way that we have apps, right? Like look at the App Store on Apple or Android, doesn't matter. There are millions at this point, right? Like not everybody uses all of them, but they're all out there, and they all get use at some point. So there is money being made on each app somewhere, right? I see it being the exact same thing, where just the level of production in society starts going through the roof because everybody's capable.
yeah. Scaling, the scalability has
Scaling
reached
law.
a different level.
So Hub Helper Harry, what I was doing the other day was I was showing people, and it is a little scary, I suppose, but I was showing people how you can actually use this guide to build out um, a brand voice, and then take it even further than that, right? So the the example I used was Fendi because it was so over the top, and so it's like, okay, well, what if you had to go design something for Fendi and you wanted it to be as close to their style and everything as it could possibly be, right? Well, Harry has, yes, of course. So Harry has the capability, because I've done this multiple times, and so I had to actually embed it as part of his instructions, to go to any website. Yeah,
And this is where, like, oh man, like, how many times in your life working with designers do you go just grab the Google URL of the picture or the icon and be like, I need something that looks like this?
right.
Like, now go, you're going to spend way too long than I expect, but I'm going to pay for it because I know that's the better way to do things. But when they take it, they're going and they're pulling up Adobe and they're, you know, we're already in the habit of doing that, right?
Right.
Now we can just, the mimicry that's starting to show up on how good that is just, it's really crazy to experience. I see you've got a Claude tab there,
Oh
and
yeah.
I love uh, the 3.5 sonnet has been
Oh my gosh, it's
wild.
amazing. Honestly,
Yeah.
I have, and so people who ask, I really, I don't mind saying it anymore. I just don't use free versions of anything because it's really the free versions are just not as capable as the paid models. Um, it is what it is. Let's see.
I mean, there's some serious infrastructure that has to be paid for to support all this, all the energy. One of my last jobs was at, a company that served the data center space, and they've got some challenges to work through to support all of the all of the stuff that is being created on behalf of AI right now. So right now we are trying to recreate a campaign. Looks like based on what we
Yep.
see on the Fendi website.
Yeah. So we're gonna basically tell Harry to take on the persona of um, the CEO of Fendi.
It's great to have you on board, Mark.
So now the CEO is going to, you know what? Let me back up a second. I'll give him a name. Paula, CEO of Fendi.
I did not know you could edit previous prompts.
Oh yeah. Not only can you edit previous prompts, but you can actually select. You can basically quote part of the output to be able to specify your next command. So you can say launch plan, and you can now reply specifically to this launch plan
Oh
and
wow,
say, "Can you tell me more about teaser, main, and post?" Right.
that's awesome.
So now we're going to copy this, come
So a
over to
lot
Claude.
less copying and pasting.
Oh yeah. So in Claude, I have built a marketing machine,
And this is
and
where, like,
what's up?
what we're about to see, um, like to help people get started, like, because especially with brand guidelines and understanding values and what's our voice and tone going to be, like, you can go through all these interviews to try and figure that out, right? But usually
Yeah.
these are things you're just talking out loud every day. And one thing that I ended up doing, like for Let's Build Media, is at the end of like, I put 40 shows with the transcripts in there. And I was like, tell me what is the tone here? And it happened to be everything I wanted it to be. But it's like, yeah, this is how I feel and this is what I want to project. And so getting into like to help do this, right?
Yeah.
Content is what's driving, a lot of your ability to leverage AI, either the stuff that it's learning on or the stuff that you give to it.
I love how much. Let's see. I'd actually. So when you want, what I've noticed is that when you want the model to follow a very specific command, the actual specific command should be the last thing that you enter. So I'm just going to use this as a placeholder. I'll come back. I copy
Yeah,
this
it
letter.
does teach you some
Oh yeah,
better communication skills because it's very for me like especially as I'm like fleshing things out, like it's easy to create a paragraph that just like request like right in a row, and if you do that you're less likely to get an output that you like.
yeah, yeah. And like we were saying, if you think about it as if you're working with a person, Nine times out of 10, when you're working with somebody and you decide and you tell them, you give them this whole project, the whole speech, the whole outlay, and you told them what to do at the very beginning, but the end was just the end of like, hey, so this is the end of the what we're going to be doing. And then you expected them to remember that first thing that you told them about, like, yeah, here's how we're going to go about it. It's like, nah, you want to make sure you tell them what it is you want after you've given them the entire context.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Mark is replying back to Paula. Thanks for reaching out about the launch, brand alignment, and everything. Next steps, he's going to prepare a detailed campaign proposal. Team's going to start working on the mood boards, and we should discuss potential partners and influencers. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and copy Mark's response, come back over to Paula. So basically, Mark and Paula are going to have a discussion back and forth about their marketing, about Paula's marketing needs for Fendi and Mark's solution to those needs.
How often, uh, like, is it important to like ask to confirm the AI's understanding of the topic that you want to jump into before you just start asking it to do things related to that topic?
Um, so I mean, let's see. Sorry, ask that again.
Like, for example, like one of the things I've done interested in writing a book, and I did something like, are you familiar with the book in a box like concept? And then
Okay.
it tells me, like, basically it allows me to confirm that we're aligned on what book in a box means, right? Because when I don't do that and I just say, hey, we're doing a book in a box and I want you to do this and this and this, like if it doesn't have the same understanding that I do, which can happen because it knows way more than I do in most cases,
Mm-hmm.
probably every case, then it's just like, again, we're back to the conversation with human beings. Like, confirm that the words customer experience, mean the same thing. And then you can actually, collaborate and get stuff done. So I like to start there. And I guess it's more for me
Mm-hmm.
to say, do I even know what this means? Right. So
Right.
starting there, and that's where AI can guide you and say, yep, this is the things that are usually involved in that. And do you want to do that? And it's like, yep.
Hands down, sir. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this last letter. You can see you can go back and forth to basically build up the familiarity with both of the models, right? So the marketing model gets to know the owner slash faux model. So you can think about this as like you're working with a client and you want to, maybe they're new to the whole org, so you're trying to do some research about them. You're trying to learn a little bit more ahead of time. Maybe they give you an idea of what their problem is. So it would be awesome and to your advantage to be able to take that information, take their brand, build out these things ahead of time, and have a much better idea of what's going to be involved with working with them and what they're going to want to see in terms of not only design from marketing, but you can even use this when it comes to RevOps. You can use it when it comes to sales. Like all of this is a really great way to build a basically to build a virtual representation of your client, to be able to ask them questions as if you were working with them, but you don't necessarily have to be, right? You can even go so far as to build a client model if you wanted to. Um, and you could basically put your conversations in there. You could put some emails in there. Obviously, you want to redact anything that's identifiable. Please, always, please redact any sensitive information. I can say that Triple H is not connected to anything, so like he doesn't train on any data by any means. And I know that Anthropic's Claude also does not actually train on any data. It doesn't even send the data to anything necessarily. Like it's just processed and then given back to you.
Right.
Even still, like just take care basically.
Again,
Um,
understand what's happening. That's where I think like behind HubSpotAI.com is a great resource if you have questions or if you you even want to understand which questions you should be asking of what to know when a new AI tool like shows up, right?
Yeah. So again, we could keep going back and forth between the two models to get even more like structured built between them so that they have a better understanding. But I'm just going to do this just to cut time. So just based on what little we've given, again, the idea is that Fendi is going to be launching this new um, blender, and so it's their first foray into appliances, and the marketing team is going to be helping them out with it. And the marketing team understands that they're leveraging HubSpot as their CRM. Not that I don't think this example is going to get too heavy into like the HubSpot solutions aspect of it, but again, it's really more marketing planning based. That you're able to say, please detail month one, also hammer out the assets first week.
So, in your words, like what does this empower?
It empowers growth acceleration, it empowers client onboarding, and it definitely empowers ad targeting, messaging. Uh, I'm not even joking when I say like most everything surrounding what you would end up doing with a client. I mean, look, if you had a virtual representation of your client that you could talk to all the time while you're working on stuff, that's what we're talking about here, right? So any
Yeah.
questions you would want to ask in terms of how they might want things done, right? If you and again, like it's a matter of being able to. A lot of businesses are wondering like, why should we build in-house models? Well, here's a solution for you. If you have, again, all conversations, all emails, all Slacks, all of that stuff put into a model, you basically have that. You have a virtual build out of your client, how they react, how they talk, everything based off of all of their data, right? So when you're having to make decisions on the back end and it's, a week until your next meeting or 4 days until your next meeting, now you're not stuck waiting, right? You could, yeah, of course, we could send emails and, wait however long that's going to take to get back, whatever it might be. Or you can take a really, really seriously educated guess. We're not talking about like just off the top of your head anymore. It's like I could just say that I haven't missed yet. Let's put
Right.
it that way. So in the last 3 weeks that I've been making suggestions to my clients for not only parts of the CRM that they might want to purchase, additional features that they could use and leverage, but also, when it comes to um, being able to be one step ahead of them in terms of their needs and what comes next, when it comes to planning and knowing what it is you want to work on first versus last, right? You're able to take your intake docs, you're able to take your questionnaires, you're able to take the configuration and whatever the contract is, throw that all into the mix and say, hey, based on this and based on the client's feedback from this initial meetings, what should I line up to work on first, second, third, fourth? So then when you get on the kickoff call with the client, you can say, hey, I know that you guys, were talking about this, and I know things are kind of lined up. I was thinking about working on them in this order. Telling you, like 10 for 10, I haven't missed yet. Um,
Yeah. And I
and it's really honestly, it's like the best way to get your foot in the door. It really helps you to build that familiarity where it feels like now I work with you as part of your organization, as opposed to me having to just learn a ton about you, right?
right.
And especially when it comes to client meeting prep, man, it is so easy to just, hey, what did we work on last week? What's going on in between that? Here's what I got put together. What should we not necessarily like what should we do next, but like what are some highlights that I can touch on this week related to what we've been working on, right?
Yeah. And really hone in. Cause like I'm always trying to figure out new ways to explain the value of time savings and like if something else could do the thing for you, what does that allow you to do now? Right. And what just
Mhm.
came to mind is like, if there's black and white stuff, there's black and white information where the interpretation is not required, it just needs to be understood. Like, that's the stuff that if you can let AI handle the black and white, now you have time to focus on the gray and the growth,
Yep.
right? Because, like,
Yeah.
so much time, like, if you're not on point with that suggestion, right, you spend the whole call talking about the suggestion,
Right.
right? And if
Right.
they get it right away, now it's like we can get to the, okay, what is there some change management involved? How do you think this person's going to respond? I can coach you through that messaging. Like, that's the stuff that never gets addressed. And then we
Yeah.
always come back to, why can't people, adopt HubSpot? Why? Like, that's where I started. Like, when I got outside, the walls, and I'm starting to consult, I go to places like, how are we, like CRM's 30-year-old category, we still have entire industries that do not use CRM. Like,
Mhm.
digital transformation projects fail at a rate of 70%. Like, maybe we should try to do some things differently. I don't know. Like,
Right.
right. And this is where, like, when you can handle the details in this way, now we have time to address all the interpersonal, communication stuff, the stuff that we know that we need to be doing, but we can never get there. Right
Right.
now we can. I mean, this is
Oh,
beautiful. This is
oh, that's weird. It just pulled back all those artifacts that have been. Let me see.
and I do love the ability now to go back and forth. And again, you have to understand that it's not a perfect system. So I mean, it's fun for me to be able to say I can troubleshoot, the AI, and just be willing to do that, because if you do get the wrong answer or something that's clearly not, especially as, working with Claude and it starts to create visuals, you're like, okay, no, that's not like good first step, but here's what's
Right.
different. And the way it can just correct it, like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, here, it's done. Right.
That's
It's
what's
just,
seriously interesting is like I was playing around this morning and uh, to your point, right? Like you could, it can definitely do some sick things with code, right? Um, just getting beyond this, right? So like we're doing some pretty cool stuff here. Um, to be honest with you, I could probably, yeah. I mean, it does some very, you
I
know what I
mean,
mean, like
come
that's a
on.
very Fendi design, man.
Right. And that's where,
um,
even if it's not perfect, I mean, we're talking 0 to 1 here. Like, this stuff takes months.
right,
Like, when you're
right,
dealing with extra teams, and like, just the fact that you can get to one inside of 20 minutes, right? Now, again, now we can, the conversations that need to happen about like matching values and really putting it through the ringer, we get to faster. It doesn't take a 3 month project and make it 12 months. Like, it just refines and removes so much of the gray space where we just lose ourselves in the
yeah,
BS, honestly. And now we can have real developmental, growth focused, like, we start having the right conversations, right?
right.
This is, ah, man, it's hard not to be just blown away every time. How do you deal with, I gotta ask, like, the moments where the first, uh, the first result is just like, perfect, like right on the money. Please do that
um,
again. And then the next
yeah,
result is like, just like, what happened? Like, how do you, I'm sure you have advised somebody asking that question before. Like, does that happen? And maybe with Hub Helper Harry, it's so focused on HubSpot, that's less of a thing. But you
no,
go
it
from like just
definitely.
king of the world to like, why are we even using AI? Like, in the heart of a span of 10 seconds.
um, I think that like it still does wow me definitely, and especially when it gets it right first go around, and especially when it's first go around on code like that. That's always amazing. First go around on a complex answer is also another cool thing. To be honest with you, it really kills first go around when it comes to general answer on whatever. Like the majority of people that I that I know that use it basically use it over the KB. They use it over YouTube. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of the stuff that I've tried to learn how to do with HubSpot, it's funny. You go into the academy and you definitely learn stuff in the academy, but you really learn more theory and application of theory than you do like actual software and actual here's how buttons you got to press and here's the menus you'll find them in and here's what you need to do. What's really sick about Harry is that you can use them to not only get to, okay, what's the crux of what I'm trying to do? What's the answer to my problem? But then you can go the step further. Okay, well, now how do I actually implement this, right? Even when it comes to reporting, you could not know anything about reporting and still be able to ask him, hey, what two data points do I need to have on what axes in order to show this information? Right? How many people have wondered that they're like, okay, where do I place this in a custom report in order to do this? Or, hey, what's the most efficient report in order to show this data? Right? Like just even if you're just clueless on what reporting you're trying to build, and it's not just for anybody's, again, reporting is like everybody. It's marketing, it's sales, it's rev ops, it's anyone, it's admin. So being able to what I love most is oh man, people's names when I'm in an interview is the worst. Uh, uh, yeah, I think so. Mustafa Solim um, had a really great interview. At least I hope that that's the person I'm thinking of. I want to say it is. And in that interview, said something that I thought was extremely, probably the most profound statement I've heard so far since GPT's launch publicly, is that knowledge is about to become free for everyone, everywhere. And we're all getting very close to having access to the same knowledge that everyone else on the planet has. So,
That's powerful.
I mean, it's so crazy that, I was looking at buying a new car. I'm looking at buying a 88 Mustang and found one online. It looked really good. Had a ton of pictures, especially of the underside, but I can't go and it's like 5.5 hours away. So I just took all the pictures and fed them into GPT and said, hey, can you do me a favor and assess the condition on this car and let me know if it's worth what the owner's asking for it? Man, like because it
Wow.
can look at every little pixel, right? Like I can't even see some of the stuff that it can see, and it did a fantastic job, like
Right?
right out the gate, right? So yeah, I mean, this stuff is extremely impressive. Um, let's see, could you? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's super impressive. And thinking about it like that, I mean, so much. I'm big on like the training and knowledge and skills gaps that industries have not figured out. And it has a lot to do with the silos of knowledge that we have.
Yeah,
And if we break out of that, I mean,
there's the Fendi blender, buddy.
I like it.
Look at that. Look at that. Would you not spend like a grand on that? You know what I mean? Like it's the
uh,
sickest thing, and it's only possible because of the fact that we get this amazing description from Claude that we're now able to give to GPT, who's able to take all of that and break it all down into every little section that it needs, right? So it understands all of this. And what if we wanted to go further? Okay, well, let's say select this over here.
I do. We could go
Let's say,
all day on this. Uh, Unfortunately, we do need
yeah, I know it's
to
got to end
wrap.
at some point, right?
Yeah, we'll give it one more go here. Add a fruit basket.
Yeah,
Uh,
just for giggles.
yeah, man, this is brilliant. And before the show, we talked about doing this weekly. Are you down? You down for
Yeah,
that?
absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we know there's just like HubSpot. There's always something AI to talk about, uh, and we're gonna keep talking about it. Keep the conversation going. If you've got AI, topics you still want to understand, let us know. But we're gonna do this on the regular, and I appreciate it so much, man.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. Every
All
week,
right.
as it turns out.
Yeah, let's do it. So, as you think about AI, like maybe let the guard down a little bit, get in there, and you will see opportunity immediately. I guarantee it. So, get in there, find that opportunity, and let's grow.
Oh,
Have a great day,
uh, I,
everybody.
I do
What
want
do
to
you
show
got?
you something that might, sorry, real quick, it will only take a second, and it might really get everybody way more interested and sort of blow some minds again. I was just fooling around with Claude, and quite honestly, like to your point, I was like, okay, well, what would it look like if all I did was, ask it like, hey, what could we do if we were doing a demo on something? Um, I hope it saved it. Maybe not. We'll show it next time.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll show it
it
next
was pretty
week.
sick because I'd asked it to like come up with a really cool thing that I could show people on a demo that it was capable of doing, and it actually used React to build out a front
Oh,
end
Mike, stop
demo.
it.
I'm not even joking. It built out a whole like reporting dashboard that was interactive and everything. Yeah,
We're doing
next
that
time.
next week for sure.
Next time.
Awesome, man. All right. You have a great weekend,
You as
and
well.
we'll see everybody next time.